And acceptance is hard because it will go like if I am identifying as a great athlete and all of a sudden in my early 20s, I break a leg, unrecoverable surgery. So you are not a quarterback anymore. Who are you? You are a great partner in a relationship. Your partner loves and adores you, but then something happens, you break up. What happened to you? The identity that we have to go through life has to change because we are very fluid creatures. If one identity is denying the reality of the next identity, that's when the phenomena of anxiety happens. That's why people are so anxious. They just can't come to accept.
Most people believe stress comes from their boss, their finances, their marriage, their schedule. But what if stress isn't caused by your circumstances? What if it's created by your relationship with them? Today's guest believes that the quality of your life starts with the quality of your awareness. And that's true. If that's true, everything changes. So let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of the Perpetual Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Palmer. On this show, we'll explore what it really means to grow, not just in business, but in our health, our wealth, leadership, our relationships, and ultimately our lives. Today's guest brings a perspective we haven't explored before. Vahid Coskun is a mindfulness coach, leadership facilitator, yoga therapist, and founder of Wellness Assembly. Over the past decade, he's worked with individuals, teams, and organizations around the world, helping people develop greater resilience, reduce stress, improve focus, and perform at a higher level, not by doing more, but by learning how to think differently. He blends evidence-based mindfulness with practical leadership development to help people stay grounded in a world that rarely slows down. Today, we're talking about stress, mindfulness, leadership, performance, and how becoming more present might actually make you more successful. Vahid, welcome to the show.
Hey, Zach, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Now, Vahid, you work with executives, leaders, organizations, and individuals trying to become the best version of themselves. I mean, after everything you've seen, what do most people understand, or maybe misunderstand about stress?
I guess people don't understand that it is essential, it is part of it. And the biggest struggle is, I think the wrong question is people are like, how do I develop more tools to handle more stress?
Yeah.
And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mhm.
So maybe the right question would be, what do I do with this stress?
Yeah, you talked about your years of experience as a yoga practitioner. You've got a book in that field. You also have your book on mindfulness, which you illustrate through short stories, which I'm excited to dive into a bit more. But maybe was there a moment of awareness that came through your yoga practices that led you to evolve into the mindfulness practices? I mean, where was the integration? Where did all this start for you? When did you become aware of these philosophies and start building your particular program process and path to really help people become more grounded and present?
I think it's all rooted in curiosity. When like we are living in a machine, this is an exoskeleton,
Hmm.
and we are highly identified with it. So when you actually think of the very basic questions like how do you move your hand? Like how, when I remember these memories of when I was sitting and I would sit like this and I would try to make my hand move in a way that would surprise me. But I could never override the awareness of like you always know what you are gonna do with your hand. But in the technicality of it, you don't really know how you move your hand. You just got used to it. And the curiosity of how do I move my body and early years in a lot of martial arts and a lot of sports started the journey of what is this machine? How do I first marvel at using this body because of competitive sports, but eventually like how do I really do what I do with this? How is my relationship with this machine? And it's not a machine, obviously. Like we can refine the term, we can call it a bio machine, we can call it anything else, but I just simply refer to it like we can also call it an exoskeleton. But your relationship with it starts the rest of the philosophical and the spiritual journey that I by no means intended to set foot on when I was just doing sports. But I found myself in it. And now that I am in it, I have a language around it in a way that I can translate the obscure sensations of the body to a reasonable and logical mind.
That's really interesting. And you're right. I mean, we take for granted and don't really think often about the way that the body works. We just know that it does. You know, and I think that's a great metaphor for the way that we live life. You know, oftentimes we just take for granted the way that things happen, but we don't take the time to become curious and process, is my current way of making decisions creating the life that I really want to live, or what needs to change? I mean, when people hear the word mindfulness, I mean, let's talk about that for a second. You know, many people imagine, you know, incense and meditation, sitting cross-legged on a mountain. I mean, in your words and definition, what actually is mindfulness and why has it become so misunderstood?
Mindfulness has become the new religion,
Mm.
and mindfulness codes became the priests. And those people who have been hurt by religion are now being hurt by mindfulness in a way.
How do you mean?
Like mindfulness is a great tool to realize the truth. Let's put it at the most raw form. So why are you being mindful? So you can see the truth. But we are not comfortable with the truth. So we don't really use mindfulness to its full extent, but we use it to be able to manage our unmanageable lives, unmanageable lives. So I maybe with mindfulness, I will come to realize that, hey, like the lifestyle that I am living is completely against all the values, virtues, and the dreams that I have deep in my heart. However, I can't really face that. So what do? I just learn tools to regulate my stress, to be able to do the unbearable things that I do that will lead to no fulfillment, no realization, or no change, no substantial change in life, really. So there is a my hesitation with spirituality or mindfulness, although I cherish those concepts, the popular form of using those concepts has deteriorated people's lifestyles almost in a way.
Mm.
Because before you knew, like imagine a guy chasing money in Wall Street. Like he knows he is chasing money in Wall Street, material. Like he knows he's in the system. But I am sitting here trying to meditate, chasing enlightenment with the same greed, with the same passion. I am ignoring the realities of life and then burning an incense and then trying to be peaceful, good vibes only. Like it's unrealistic to have good vibes only. What do you do when the vibes are bad?
Mm.
So like you can't just check out. So it is right now in a toxic influence, but overall, truth always precedes. So eventually it will find its right form. But I just want to acknowledge there is that little bit of toxicity in mindfulness within the psychological realm. Like how much do I have to? How many tools do I really have to be able to live this life?
Mm.
And then, according to some coaches, the more the many.
Mhm.
But
Right.
I don't think life is that complicated.
We tend to make it complicated. I mean,
Yeah, we love
that's
it.
a that's an interesting perspective, I love that. I have never really considered that, how the thing that was being professed as the solution is just a whole nother practiced extreme. It's something else that we're chasing. So, I mean, in your mind, What is, and I've come to love this word more than ever over the last year or two. Where does true harmony and integration come from? What is the real, I hate the word balance. That's where I come back to harmony. But where do we really find true harmony? I mean, talk more about that.
I think whatever that journey might look like, it has to come with the step of acceptance, like being able to accept where you are, how you are, what you are, because that has to be your starting point.
Mm, mm,
And acceptance is hard because it will go like, if I am identifying as a great athlete and let's say like a quarterback, very famous, and all of a sudden in my early 20s I break a leg, you know, a unrecoverable surgery, so you are not a quarterback anymore. Who are you? You are a great partner in a relationship, your partner loves and adores you, but then something happens, you break up. What happened to you? So the identity that we have to go through life has to change because we are very fluid creatures. But we also are designed with a nervous system that has aversions and attachments. So if one identity is denying the reality of the next identity, that's when the phenomena of anxiety happens. That's why people are so anxious. They just can't come to accept that things are
Anxiety and
changing.
sabotage, I think, too.
Sabotage. Sabotage is so interesting. Yeah, why do you think we sabotage?
I think it's a conflict in values and belief systems. If you're trying to accomplish two, I mean, if we bring it back to the concept of identity, like you say, if we have these two competing identities, you have to pick a path. We have to surrender to the thing that really is going to drive ultimate success and fulfillment. But so often more time we're trying to buy into these competing ideas of what success and fulfillment looks like. And that's where you end up with internal conflict. And then we can create that sabotage would be my attempt in short.
Yeah. But even like in that dilemma, the cure is within itself. Like with
Mhm.
sabotage, most people that I encounter, they be like, oh, I'm so bad sabotaging this, that, this, that. Like they have the knowledge of their sabotage,
Mhm.
but because again, they were like, even the part of them, okay, I'm I'm aspiring to see people in their source code at the raw level, all the good, all the bad, whatever. But even in telling your story to your life coach, there is a tendency to be a good life coach client that the the levels, the tentacles that are like entangled are so wide that like the client would make sure that they know that I know that they are self-sabotaging. But the problem is, at the deepest level, they cannot see that self-sabotaging identity. Like there is me and there's the Vahid the self-saboteur with all its grand marvel. Like if I demonize him, he gets stronger. If I enable him, he gets stronger. If I just watch him, he gets uncomfortable. He gets shy.
Mm.
Like even that part of you, A, wants to be seen, B, is scared to be seen. So can you take these little steps and then go to that realm without a judgment? You can. How much do you want to take that journey? Well, there's a lot of obstacles. Like it's an interesting game to be living this life.
It is. It is. You know, tell me this, like, shifting gears, let's focus on like the high achievers for a second. I mean, why do you believe, why are some of the highest achievers also some of the most stressed people?
I mean, there's some high achievers with very low levels of stress,
Mm,
but they are few and far between.
exactly.
It just correlates to the hustle culture, I think.
Hmm.
Like you do become better. The more tools you learn, the more resistance or resilience you have, the better you get at the material game. But at the end of the day, you want to ask yourself, like, is this the server that I want to be in? Or is this the code that I want to run on? And if it is yes, it's perfect. I think some people have to grind it all out. And some people find fulfillment in it. I think why some high achievers are so highly stressed is because deep down they don't want to be that. Like the people that are living their own path, and then that path happens to be a high achieving path, they have zero stress. I mean, not zero stress, but like I would say zero anxiety. Stress definitely is there. But if that is not the path, like you can be an astronaut, but if you didn't want to be an astronaut and then people think that you could be and then you should be an astronaut, you might not be happy.
Oh yeah.
And
Hmm.
then that will stress. Whereas if I was an astronaut, I would probably just be chilling. It's if it's not yours, then it's gonna cause stress. Same
I
thing,
think
like if the lady you are with is not yours, like she will just be a source of trouble just because she's breathing. Yeah, it's not because she is wrong, but it is because she's not the one, or like, yeah, like move on. That like the
Mhm.
right situations in life cause such beautiful amount of stress that that stress forms itself into ambition and effortless hard work. By mean effortless, like the guy who ran the marathon below 2 hours, he looked effortless. Was it physically effortless? No way, but he looked effortless. So when you are doing your own thing, the stress that you feel like you have to get up and grind in the morning will just be like a flow of ambition. Like you will work so hard, but it won't feel like it.
It's interesting because I think so much of this comes back to culture and conditioning. How conditioned we are as a society. And what is the number one thing we hear growing up in the United States? Go to school, get a good job, get married, have kids, buy your home. But there's such a linear, defined path that is ingrained from us from childhood. The most people never take the chance or opportunity to step back and really ask, what do I want? What will really make me happy? We're taught to believe that there's certainty, that there's comfort and going to school and having the degree and getting the great job. But is that really your path, or is that the path that you were told to take? And so
And
much
I
what we're chasing is that certainty. But is there such a thing?
I
No.
think that's like even that is like too black and white. There is an integration because
Hmm.
like within all honesty, unless you are gonna tap into a Buddhist state or like override the matrix and then go up and learn, like most people who says this is what I want, it's not really what they want. Even like what would make me happy is the trickiest question.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so I think it's an integration because the things that you are denying are also the things that influence or determine your composure right now. So you can't really like completely detach.
Hmm. Wholeheartedly agree. So, I mean, one thing you said before that really stood out to me. I mean, your goal is to help people stay in charge of their experience of life. I think that's a perfect segue in this conversation. I mean, in your mind, what does that actually mean?
It's a it's a buying statement too. It sounds so good. Stay in charge of your experience at all times. Sounds amazing. And then when you hear it, you are like, yeah, like I can buy into this mentality.
Hmm.
But the reality is staying in charge of your experience sometimes includes the time that you are not in charge of your experience. Like when
Detachment,
people,
surrender. Hmm.
yeah, when people say, oh, I was doing so good, but I lost it in the meeting when I yelled at like that. And then they come, it's like, oh, like that person wasn't me. Like this is a treasure right there that needs to be worked on. Like that person was 100% you. Like the person who lost it was 100% you. How do you integrate it? How do you learn from it? Like what is it there to tell you? And these are the questions that nobody can find an answer for unless you get curious. It's not a bad thing, or it's not a good thing. It's a thing that's an existing thing, and you have to inquire about it if you are curious about it, I think. Yeah, but yeah. Even that, like that's why I don't do too much marketing in terms of my services, because like you don't have to do anything. There is no sellable point in this. The only thing that needs to be done is, and if you think there has to be done something about this, you talk to me, and then all of a sudden you realize that there's nothing really that we can do about it. I was imagining a world of complete peace and enlightenment. And I imagined it like we wouldn't even speak. We would just smile. Like when we make eye contact, we smile, we move on. But we are not living in that perfectly peaceful world. Or I should say not a peaceful, because even that is giving some connotation. I should say present world, like presence right there. It all goes away. I will never ask for a second session after my first session. And if the person feels the need, they book a session, and I remind them why they don't need to book a session. It's like I think it's just too simple, and we like my job, especially. So I felt like this forever in my life, but eventually at some point you have to buy people into how easy the life is. And because we made it so complicated, you have to get like degrees, you have to have the master, you have to have years of experience, so people listen to you to take it easy. And I was mad at this. I'm like, why can you not take it easy? But then I also realized that some people are they will take it easy from the beginning. Some people won't. Some people die like this. It's just life is just so beautiful that it allows all the possibilities. And if I can, I'm like, hey, like you have a choice in this too. That's my reminding point to people. But again, you don't have to exercise that choice.
I think that's, I mean, fundamentally, I feel like what I'm hearing from you, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but one of the big things that you really do at your core is help people to get curious.
Yeah.
You create the environment, the time, and the space where they can ask better questions, or maybe questions they've just never asked in general,
Yeah.
to
I mean,
get
like there is nothing to be curious about the space if you have never seen it. And when you
right.
even see it, like just looking at it with bare eyes is gonna make you a little bit curious. But then when you have a telescope, you will be more curious. The more data you have about the subject matter, the more curious you are gonna be. So I think I initiate the first level of curiosity, like you take a breath and all of a sudden something else expands in your body that you never felt, that you have never felt before. Like that new experience will make you practice more of it. So some knowledge is very important about how miraculous our lives are, just some blind points, and the rest is up to you.
Tell me this. I mean, one thing I'm curious about, Vahid, is like, why do most people come to you? What are they looking for? What solutions are they seeking? What problems are they trying to overcome? I mean, what talk talk about
If I have to generalize it overall, the identity that they have led their whole life with is glitching. There's like hiccups in the beautiful lives that they have. So most people who come to me, they have like very good lives in terms of the material setup. But then something still doesn't feel right.
disintegrated?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think the gap in between those stances creates a lot of dissonance. So they really can't wrap their mind around it until they can talk to somebody about it. And most of the time, the people that I work with are not really talkers. I
They
I think
internalize.
yeah, like are not talkers in terms of like a talk therapy approach would not help it because it's a lot of talking.
Mhm.
But then when they talk a little bit, and if I were to challenge a belief or an assumption, uh, that short-circuited mind actually helps them more because they thought 2 a.m. in the morning, everything that they ran their algorithms by was checking out, but there was still a problem at the bottom line. So leaving my session, they might feel like, everything in their algorithm was not right. So they will be like, what was not right about this?
Mhm. You know, what I'd be curious about, I mean, for our listeners, anybody tuned in right now, what is how could they begin the process of becoming more curious with themselves? What's a question, a leading question they might be able to ask to start that internal journey? You know, where my
Where is my diaphragm?
say that again?
Where is my diaphragm?
Are you talking about the power of breath in this context? Where am I actually breathing in the moment? Or
It
how do
could
you
be
mean?
anything, 100%. Because,
So you're thinking the pattern interrupt side of it, just get them
yeah,
out of their head and, like,
100%. And it's
yeah.
it's it's like the only thing that we do, that we always do. So if you want to be a good doer, start with your breath. And it's like I'm like, where's my bicep? I feel my bicep. I kind of contracted and feel the fibers cramping, everything. Where is the diaphragm? Like, what does it even do?
Mhm.
So I think this question has to first make you feel a little bit dumb because you don't really know where it is. Like, like knowing the shape of it, seeing an image of it, does not correlate to having an actual thing that you can actively use in your body. And this will also tie back to your metaphor of life in the sense that diaphragm is a muscle that has both voluntary and involuntary circuits of nerves. So, which means if you don't pay attention to it, it will happen. But if you do pay attention to it and try to regulate it, it will happen better. It's like if you live your life with no goal and with no awareness, with no direction, you will still live. But if you want to do something with your life, you can also do something with your life. It just starts here.
I mean, it's so interesting. I mean, life doesn't come with a playbook.
Yeah.
And to your point, I think that's where so often we're overcomplicating things. But I mean, when people come to you, you said before, they've oftentimes achieved success in the material part of lives, but then they're disintegrated and maybe it's or there's dissonance and maybe it's in their health, their interpersonal relationships, whether that be parenting, spouse, significant other, friendships, um, lack of a real connection with themselves. Everything is external or everything's so internal that it's all bottled up inside. I mean, it seems like we tend to live in these polarizing extremes. And really, what do you feel is the ultimate thing that you are? helping people to achieve through your coaching and practices?
The ultimate thing.
Even that feels like a loaded question because now it's coming
Yeah.
down to one real point, but it's not.
But like ideally, we
Yeah.
ideally what I would want from any of my clients is to create enough witnessing skills or capacity to be able to receive like the right data. You know, at the end of the day, we are still computers taking information in and digesting it. So the raw, the rawer the data you take into your system, the easier it's gonna be. And I always wanna make sure that they are aware of the filtration. So like I won't know this is the ultimate place, right? And I'm being super realistic. Like I won't know where you are gonna end up in life, but wherever you are, I want you to be able to look behind you, look around you, and know that when you are looking forward, you don't see the back. So become aware of your capabilities as well as limitations. Like we are limited, you know. That's another toxic point. You are limitless. You are like you can't do everything. You can do anything, but out of the possibilities of anything, you have to still choose one thing because some things need a lifetime, some things need a few lifetimes, some things you can do in 2 days. So depending on what is your end goal, you can go towards it, but you are also limited. Like we can't fly. We can figure out ways to make a machine that's going to make us fly, but I can't fly with my bare skin. Or maybe there is some situations that I won't be able to handle emotionally. Maybe I'm not a prophet. Maybe I'm not a homeless guy. Maybe I'm just who I am. Like there is the people who feels like they have to be better or who feels better than other people, also deep down who feels worse than other people. Like if there is a comparing scale, it cannot just be one-sided. So my goal with my clients would be like, hey, you know, grow a real or as much of an objective lens on the subjective reality and be okay with it.
I mean, you're not teaching people to escape reality. You're teaching people how to be more present and perform better inside of it.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me, for the high achievers in the room, like how do mindfulness and high performance actually complement one another?
I mean, as a tool, if you have to handle stress in the right means, just breath awareness, personality awareness, like I'm stressing so much because I really want to do very good in this presentation. And there's a part of me that is nervous about this. What do I do about it?
Yeah, because that's the irony. The more that you think about the thing that you're trying to avoid, the more that you bring that thing into your existence.
Yeah. So I think for like high achievers, they do have to, so like knowledge is the key. You do have to have, let's say, a few breathing exercises or a few visualization techniques or a few acceptance methods. You have to try a few of these and then see what's right. Like after you get a tool or two, try to finesse this tool, make it really yours. Like you don't have to know 10 different breathing exercises, although there is 400 different breathing exercises, but they are all the same. or you don't have to have 10 different visualization techniques. What you have to do is get into this field enough that you feel something new. Oh, it's like, oh, when I was doing the breathing exercise, I felt such and such. Or when I look at the problem from this perspective, I saw it differently. Just one little thing, and then keep applying it. And also don't rush it. You can't rush it. Like we have that, like high as an high achiever, if something works, you want to make more of it. Let's scale this. All of a sudden, this product sells amazing in this city. Let's sell it to all cities. But then this tool that works so much in this moment, you cannot right away scale it to all the other problems in life. So there has to be an organic growth, and maybe you have to respect time and where you are in life.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. One thing as you were talking about just now, I was thinking about was the differentiating both stress and anxiety. And to me, stress is something that we feel in the moment, usually probably because of a, present interpretation of the thing that we're dealing with. And sometimes that thing's very real. If you're getting chased by a lion, that's a pretty obvious and important form of stress. It's your body trying to say you got to get somewhere safe. But then we can also feel stressed before, going into or in the midst of a presentation in the boardroom. However, anxiety, at least in my mind, is more fear. It's a story that we are telling ourselves about something that could go wrong in the future. But all fear, just like faith, is future focused. And the real question that I ask people all the time is, which one are you going to choose? Like what if we're going to tell ourselves a story, we might as well make it a good one, right? Like
Yeah.
in your mind, how do you differentiate between stress and anxiety, and where do they both play helpful roles, and where are they most often mismanaged or maybe misunderstood?
I think the biggest misunderstood part of anxiety is like in the beginning, it was a stomach ache. My tummy hurts. My tummy. And then you go to all the physicians. There is nothing wrong with your tummy. You're like, it's psychological. I'm anxious. I'm anxious. And then you go a little bit deeper down. It's not I am anxious. It's, let's say, the college graduating Wahid is anxious because the Wahid that is in work life is non-existent. So an identity is dying and a new identity is coming that you are not even being introduced to. It's so you can handle anxiety from two ways. The first part is grief, cherishing the college boy. He did an amazing 4 lives or 4 years or whatever. And then being able to come to terms that, hey, like he has lived his lifetime. And the next one is to be curious about it. Like, how do I morph the accumulation of my characters up until this moment into the next given task? So, like, curiosity, kind of bravery. But this is still, I think some people just need to be anxious though. Like most of the time, when somebody says, my cousin's so anxious, he should work with you or she should work with you. And then I talk to the cousin for 5 minutes. They have nothing to do with working with me. Like some people have to, like you just have to be anxious for a while to learn your lesson from anxiety. You know, it's not a problem to be anxious. But then I'm
Unless
so
you
anxious.
stay there.
Say again?
Unless you stay there. Because that's the thing is some people get stuck in that pattern of it's almost like anxiety becomes the present state, the predominant state.
I mean, the only problem in that equation is that if they don't want to be stuck.
Yeah, the choice awareness.
Yeah.
Do am
If
I
they want to be stuck, some people can just be. I had a client years ago. This was probably 11 years ago. And let's say his name is Tom. and he was doing a yoga posture, and I know this guy by years right now. And I said, hey, like Tom, like is there's something that you can do about your shoulders that will make them feel better? Would you like me to tell you? And then he was such an honest guy. He looked at me. He said, Wahid, I'm happy with the problems that I have. So I don't want to fix something because when I fix it, there'll be a new problem. So I'm just content where I am. And I was appalled with the answer the guy gave. It's just a different level.
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with it. What is wrong is that I can't contain how anxious my cousin is. So I'm advising my cousin to work with you. I'm like, no, like I should work with you because you are not okay with other people living their lives. As long as the cousin is not complaining about it themselves or finding solutions for it.
Yeah, which becomes a more personal choice. That's a
Yeah.
fascinating. It says, yeah, projecting what we want, not what they necessarily want, which is interesting because I mean, is coaches, servant leaders. I mean, oftentimes that's a tricky place because we want to help other people, but people really fundamentally have to help to want themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, tell me this as we wrap up today's episode of Vahid. I mean, imagine it's decades from now, and one of your students is teaching mindfulness to somebody else. They mention your name. What do you hope they say you taught them that changed their life forever?
I would like them to keep it real simple. Yeah, he just taught me how to breathe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I mean, Vahid, for our audience, I mean, for people who want to connect with you and are connected with today's conversation, where can they learn more about your work, your coaching, your workshops, your books? You have practice beyond the posture, meet yourself through the mental dialogues of yoga. I mean, talk more about where everybody can learn more about you and connect with you.
Feel free to Google me. My my two books. One is Teachings of a Delusional Monk, which is philosophical, kind of ironic, and very perspective way of looking at life in short stories. I really love the short stories that doesn't really say much, but also kind of say some.
Mhm.
That again, that's called Teachings of a Delusional Monk. And my other book is, if you are familiar with the inner game of tennis, it's very similar, also very different because the way we narrate things are very, very different, but talking about the similar concepts. So if you are curious about your relationship with yourself, and if you have any physical experience of any sports or yoga, the way you relate to your body and the way your mind tries to manage your body is a very interesting dynamic. And I bring it out in very plain language and practice beyond the posture. Apart from that, check out my website, wellnessassemblyservices.com. Uh, that's it. If you feel the urge to reach out to me, otherwise, I think you're perfectly fine.
Beautiful. Well, make sure that we have all the links in the show notes, Vahid. I mean, today's conversation reminded me that growth isn't always about becoming more. Sometimes it's about removing the noise that keeps us from becoming ourselves. And we spend so much of life trying to control everything around us, our business, our finances, our schedules, other people. But maybe the greatest return on investment comes from learning to lead the one person that we can actually control, ourselves. So, Vahid, thank you for joining us. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, leave us a review, share this episode with someone who could use a little more peace, a little more perspective, and a reminder that slowing down doesn't mean you're falling behind. So, until next time, keep growing, keep learning, keep leading, and remember the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one happening inside of your own mind. We'll see you next time. Vahid, thank you for joining us today, and thanks for joining us on another episode of the Perpetual Growth Podcast.